Hello and welcome back to Greenlight Cinema. I'm Brandon, and today I'm doing a review on Halloween Kills. And this is going to be pretty interesting for me because this is actually a franchise I'm not all too familiar with. I grew up, I'll explain just for a little bit. I went into this seeing this movie, and I've seen the very first Halloween. And maybe a couple others. Not very many. I love John Carpenter though, and Christine is definitely a very fond memory of mine. It still is good to me as it was the very first time I watched it when I was a kid. This was like, being a teenager and finally seeing those, scary movies you always got told about. But I remember right away, I think I was 11 the very first time I seen Halloween. And I was like just blown away that it wasn't like as scary as I thought it'd be. It's always spooky and very ominous. I'll give it that. But like, that was a lot how this film was. And I'm not going to get into a whole lot of spoilers. Again, I don't know a lot about this franchise. I think I know a lot more about the Jason franchise.
Hey, now cut that out right now. That's not funny.
And I'm a little embarrassed to admit that, but I just, because watching this, I was like, wait, there's a Tommy in this? And like there is in Jason? I was like, oh boy. And speaking of that, it would have been great to actually have Paul Rudd back as Tommy Doyle, but we didn't get to have that, so wasn't a fan of him actually in this movie. And I'll start out with this. Not gonna give a whole lot of spoilers. But if I do by accident, I just don't want to be that guy. I just want to go ahead and explain ahead of time. I may not have, everybody's Easter eggs and everything lined up here because, again, I'm not really I don't know this franchise very well. But after watching this movie, I'll go ahead and say this very quick. I was very impressed, and I feel like I've been missing out. This movie's a fantastic movie. But I love this movie. I'm not claiming to be a Halloween or a John Carpenter expert by any means here. I just want to give you my point of view. The movie, though, Halloween Kills, is a great movie. I mean, even if you don't know a lot about the franchise, such as myself here. But, let's start with... I want to start with the font. I believe I mentioned this on quite a few reviews now, of Many Saints of Newark just being recently, about period pieces and, how things should look and sound, and very quickly right away, because it starts off, if I'm not mistaken, this film, spoilers from here on out, from whatever I say, but anyway, it's 70s, and I did say that Many Saints in Newark was very great, and it just, I was like, I've never seen a period piece so accurate in my life. Cancel that, because this was breathtaking. I couldn't tell for a minute, and I've never been able to have this happen to me, so I really love being tricked. My brain partially because I'm like, is this some old footage that they, had that they didn't use? And someone told me later that it was actually, they found someone to play Loomis. And the cool thing was no CGI. It was great, just makeup artist. I believe they had someone to dub his voice to sound like him, so sound like Loomis. I was like, oh, wow. I really, honest to God, the mask Michael's wearing looks very like late 78. Just, it's so really to scale. And I was very, very impressed right away. The font, that's where I kind of want to start from. It reminded me of like the Stranger Things, but I mean that in the best compliment, because I'm not a big Stranger Things fan. What really held me together with that show, I only made it through the first and second season, was the font, the music. It was atmospheric, creepy, and that's how I felt with this Halloween film in a way. It was, so 70s atmospheric and spooky feeling. I had that Fargo season 2 vibe. Like, there was parts of that season, it felt very spooky, and I just love that late 70s, early 80s, late 80s vibe. Very, very, very cool style. But then, we don't stay there forever. We go into 2018, and they kind of took me out of the movie a little bit, because I was like, shoot, this could have been the whole movie. That would have been great, but I know that we have to go on. There's a continuation from where it left off in the last film. And so they, I believe, have a deputy sheriff who has been wanting to get Michael ever since. So we go into modern day. Well, it's it's kind of modern day, I guess you could say. It's 2018, because that's where the first one was. 40 years later, and they're talking about Halloween. When the cinematography changed, it's kind of when, like, I went from very interested to very bored, but not right away. Some of the cinematography at the bar scenes, I think especially, just felt like kind of a cheap B-movie. And I'm not really trying to knock the movie in any way. I don't know any of these characters. I feel like Laurie Strother's character should just kind of... I feel like Laurie Stroder's character, I guess, should kind of be like the main center focus. But I know you can't you can't make the whole thing be about her and Michael, but she has kids and everything. But it feels like this whole small town is just completely engulfed and traumatized. Maybe a little enthusiastic. I don't know. Tommy is really hard to read. Like, when he's on stage talking about his experience, he sounds like he's like in an AA meeting about to give out like a speech. And, it's kind of, then it sounds like a spooky old ghost story tale. I'm just like, I don't know. I think if Paul Rudd had been doing this, I would have liked it a whole lot more. And I'm not trying to be mean towards that actor. I just didn't really feel a strong connection with these characters. I mean, just one little thing I have to say here. And it's not a big gripe. It's not a complaint. But, like, the bartender, and I mean, someone can comment down below and inform me all this. I'd love to know, because I'm going to try and go back and watch some of these. I just need to know the right ones to watch. So, the bartender at one point, looks at a picture of his dad and says, "My dad owned this bar." And I think to myself, okay, is that someone we're supposed to know about? And who and why and who are all these people? And why should I mean, there's so many of these characters. This whole town, sure, is affected by Michael, but it feels like the whole town's at this bar. I don't know. It was just so kind of confusing a little bit. I think if we'd had just maybe the Tommy Doyle character, and maybe the love interest to Jamie Lee Curtis's granddaughter, I think that right there is probably enough characters. But then they have two other people, I think. I really don't know who's all supposed to be who. And again, it's not terribly confusing. I like when they go out to the parking lot. It kind of reminded me, and I'm not sure if this was paying a little homage to Christine or something, but it gets a little spooky, for me anyway, it did. And you get those great John Carpenter score sounds and the stings. Ding. I don't know how to exactly describe it. I hope I'm describing it correctly. But when the lights cut on to this car or whatever, it's like, ooh, like, is anyone in that car? Like, you think Michael's in that car? Here's the weird thing. There's apparently a guy that's also escaped from a mental institution, and they keep cutting back and forth to the hospital. And I'll get into that, but I'm jumping ahead a little bit. But Tommy spots this person, and is just really like, that's Michael, and starts this riot. And I mean, doctors, nurses, everyone working at the hospital, all staff, maybe even people in their bedrooms. It doesn't look like anyone's in their bedroom except for Jamie Lee Curtis and the cop that we're introduced to earlier in the movie. It looks like they're the only ones that stay in their bedroom, and everyone is out to get Michael. And it's actually just wrong identity. It's I said it was the Penguin from the Tim Burton movie, Batman, but because he doesn't look anything like Michael Myers is built. And I think to myself, well, if Tommy's like really obsessed and very focused with Michael, you'd think he'd have like a good understanding of what his like features are. I don't know. I just felt like that storyline was like, what? I'm like, is this supposed to be felt humor? And then, they get the guy to like pretty much, I don't know, maybe he was messed up in the head, but he kills himself. Spoilers. I don't know. I was just kind of like, this is very left field and out of nowhere. And then 40 minutes later, when it's way too late, Tommy Doyle's like, wait, that's not Michael. And it's like, yeah, you think? I don't know. I don't know. I think I had a bigger problem with his character. But there's more things to this movie to like than just corny and cheesy scenes like, whoa, did you hear that? Well, I guess it's nothing. Yes, there's a lot of that. There's a lot of killing in this, which is great. But there was a little bit more to it. I wrote down some things that I actually really liked. I don't like jump scares. And there's none of that in this movie. It's not super predictable, but you almost can feel when Michael's near. They're continuing on with the first movie, or 2018, where it left off with. And we see that Michael was trapped in the fire, but he comes out of it. And I'm kind of going back and forth here, and I apologize, but this scene, like, payoff to away a little bit earlier in the film, when we see the 1970, when we actually get to see the 1978 footage, that I was like, is this real? Or like, what was this stuff that we didn't get to see? But it was, shot very recent. And so what was cool about it was we get this like police like standoff with Michael and all the Michael Myers and all the cops, and it's great visually. The coolest set piece I think I've seen. I love 70s stuff, and the old cop cars, just they look fantastic. But we get almost a mirror scene exactly like that with firefighters, and it was it's done very interestingly, stylistically. I loved it. He's got like, little torn his mask from the flames, and just looks great. So this movie, I don't know, it was very interesting though, just how well you can tell a story like this. I mean, the cinematography, I said, looked cheap when we got to the bar, but like outside the scenes outside at night look very spooky, well done, well lit for night scenes. And just, overall, this movie was a lot better than I was actually anticipating. I was on the edge of my seat. I was, in not a scared way, but like, where's this gonna go? The parts I had the biggest problem with was the hospital. It was so boring being at this hospital. And there's plenty of things going on, chaos, people knocking over each other to see if it's really Michael or not. It was a great set piece, but I feel like it should have been done maybe like in smaller proportions. But it was just like, oh gosh, we're at the hospital again. And I don't know, I guess I'm just at that point where I'm like, oh, I want to see Michael kill more people. That's more fun. But I wrote this down because I'm not even, again, I'm not that big a fan of these movies, but it felt like this movie had that, like, heavily relied, like the Star Wars formula, for instance, where, you know, it's like Rogue One, like, AT-AT walkers, things we know, you know, and I wonder, like, to the fans anyway, like the true hardcore fans of Halloween, does that ever get old, you know? I don't know, like, how far can you carry on a story like this? And I guess I'll find that out as I go forward and watch the rest of these movies. I just need to know the right ones to watch, so I'm not confused on the timeline that I'm in. I feel like I'm watching, like, Terminator movies, but just way better, more constructed. I'm not saying James Cameron movies are a mess. I'm just saying I think I like his earlier work better. But yeah, that's neither here or there.
The more he kills, the more he transcends.
Run! Go home now!
He's the essence of evil.
Do it! Do it! You want your mask? Come and get it!
I'm coming for you, Michael.
It was a good movie, and I'm satisfied with this review. I probably didn't say or cover as much ground as people might have wanted me to, but I think overall this is a great, fantastic film. It's fun, and it definitely kept me in suspense. But certainly, this movie really holds up on its own, and I really enjoyed it. Didn't you? What is this? This isn't Spider-Man. What the...